what do you think are the reasons why we're seeing a greater presentation of mental health issues amongst young
Mm,
people,
mm.
children? What's your sort of understanding of why that is coming about?
Well, I think just to put some context in, there is no one single thing. So just, I know you'll know this, but just to be very clear, there is no one single answer. People always hope, I suppose, that there is one thing, and if we just fix that, it would fix
We've got a
everything.
magic bullet,
Yeah,
that sort of
that
thing.
does not exist.
Yeah.
We know that this problem, this rising numbers of young people struggling and complexity was happening before the pandemic. So we also know this is not COVID related, but COVID made it worse.
In my experience, what it
Yeah.
did was like there were people that were over the edge, there were people that
Mm.
were close to the edge, and there were people far away from it, and it just shifted everybody that way, didn't it?
Exactly.
But
And
then
this,
the people who were already over the edge became much more severe. The
yeah.
people that were close to the edge went over the edge, and
Mhm.
that's my understanding. But those problems
Exactly.
were there, and
Yes.
they probably
No,
were going
that's
to
right.
emerge over time anyway. Is that right?
They might have done or they might have managed. You know, that's the thing. For example, with eating disorders, there are a lot of people who were teetering and perhaps not have the healthiest, but maybe they would have moved on. Maybe their lives would have changed. Maybe they would have got better. The minute COVID hit, it pushed them over that edge.
I
Also, don't know
agree,
if
but
you've
also we
seen,
had seen a 40% increase in hospitalizations for eating disorders amongst children
yes, children.
prior to the pandemic. I mean, it was already horrifically going through the roof. So there
It
was
was.
already a significant problem of a
Yeah.
lack of intervention early enough, a lack
Mm.
of understanding of the issues, a lack of services, because
Yes.
of course we don't want kids in hospitals. It's the last thing where we want them to be with these
Yeah.
types of issues. So,
Yeah.
but I interrupted.
No,
So
no, that's
there's,
fine.
there's a broad set of reasons, the pandemic being one of the factors
Accelerants.
that it accelerated. Okay.
Yes, yes. But before that, I think I'd noticed a few things, and not just me, obviously, but that I was aware were affecting, for example, my students. And then when I started to look around, I thought that these seemed to be affecting. And one of the things that was fascinating to me was the rise in perfectionism. So I talk a lot about this
I
in my
remember us talking about that, I
Yes,
think.
we've
Yeah.
talked about that before, and how much more perfectionistic the younger generation were becoming. So it's really fascinating. But those who've studied it and the academics who published on it published their findings from 30 years of reviews in 2017, and they have just published the follow-up to see whether this is still going
Wow.
up, or is it no, it's still going up. It's gone higher. So
Oh.
this is not a problem that's going away, which I think is really interesting for our younger generation. The pressure that they are under to feel and be and act perfect.
Can you give us just a few bullet points about perfectionism and what it does and
Yeah.
why you know that it's destructive?
Yes, so we know that the more perfectionistic you are, the more likely, not guaranteed, the more likely you are to struggle with your mental health. So you're more likely to have anxiety or depression or eating issues, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and unfortunately, self-harm and suicidal thinking. So we know those are strongly associated with perfectionistic traits. And therefore, if we can reduce the perfectionism and the drive to be perfectionistic, maybe we've got a chance to reduce some of those longer term mental health challenges.
And how much of that perfectionism is driven by this image culture, but also by the output culture in schools now? Like schools are I'm not blaming schools. This is policy stuff that's happened, but you've got to get X number of qualifications, etc.,
Mhm,
etc.
mhm,
If you
mhm.
don't do that, your life's over, apparently.
I would
You know
say
what I
it
mean?
comes from multiple pressure points. So this possibly our education system is one of them. I mean, the problem is because the studies show the perfectionism has gone up, but nobody has like, oh, what's the cause? There's one cause, and this is where it gets interesting. So I would suggest that our education system doesn't help, but this is an international finding,
Oh.
so it's going to be whatever's happening all around the world.
But
I
if the pressure on young people isn't
Yeah.
just in the UK.
No, 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 no.
Academic pressures are global at the moment.
Yes.
Its competition is really there, I think.
So this is the next thing that's fascinating is where we've made life more competitive than it needs to be in every aspect of life. And this is where I do sort of perhaps differentiate myself from some of the other speakers on this is I think this is one of the things that we really should be challenging is we've gone wrong in a society where we've made every fun thing competitive,
Yeah.
where we've made everything from, cooking and painting and sculpture and pottery and knitting through to baking cakes competitive. I think that is a massive wrong turn. All of these things, when we look at it, the overstructuring of their lives, this pressure to be perfect, to win at everything, to be the best. You can't just, bake a cake. It has to be the best cake. All of these things put pressure on their generation and they believe that's what they have to do because they don't know a world where that isn't the case, where you don't compete on every level.